thing you can do when you arrive and hit your spot is to check whether salt's been added into the tank, and then whether a new filter is needed. And then while you're doing that, you can also scoop out some water into the basin, and this is to let the temperature of the water the aids are in balance with the temperature of the tank. You want to check your tank temperature at the same time, make sure it's about 4. Anywhere from 3 to 6 is sort of okay, but you'll want to try to get it down to 4 for sort of a long haul. So you just want enough water to cover the white incubator tray. Hit some of the Tupperware with the aids in it. But you want a bit of depth because later you need to shape the aids down into the condo, and it's easier to do that when you have water in there. Water to cover them all in the basin. So once you have some water in, this is a good time to let the students come up and see the aids. Usually I sit the Tupperware on top of the loading tray so that it gives a bit of a contrast for them. We can talk about the eyes and the spine and how they grow and hatch and the yolk in there while they're coming up and seeing it. So this is going to be pretty close. Usually the temperatures are pretty close to begin with. You don't really need to wait, but usually you can spend 10-15 minutes with the students without any problem with anything getting too warm. So hopefully your teacher has the fish condo intact with 2 bolts and 2 nuts. Most will be a yellow or gray with clear plastic, or some with 2 clear plastic halves. These hold 200 eggs. They have the cross hatching on the openings that keep the fish as they've hatched inside. And one other thing is that there is an up and a down to these. It actually says up, but you can almost never see it. But the easier way to tell what's up is with these bolt holes. On the top corners, these are up. And we have it up when it's in the tank because that way the openings on each cell are at the bottom of this diamond shape, so the egg is sitting right in front of the opening and water can flow through. The eggs temperatures are balanced. We can pour them over the loading tray. You don't need to be too careful. You don't want to get eggs under and then push down on the loading tray and crush them, but if they get under and the tray sort of floating, that's fine. Then you sort of pour them out. You don't need to be very precise. Usually trying for maybe half on each half of the loading tray. And the aids are fine if they're out of water for a few seconds. They're just, as long as they're moist, they're fine. And you want to get 1 in each cell. Usually I try, depending on how I've poured them out to begin with, to leave at least the bottom row, or one of these sort of rows on the lawn edges, relatively clear of aids, and I'll use that as the bottom and put that in the rock. But then you can just sort of, with your spoon or aid moving device, as I tell the kids, you can just gently move the aids over so they all find their own dimple. And this is the time as well to talk to the students about how the aids aren't like a chicken egg. They're sort of rubbery. They're meant to bounce around in a nest of rock and aren't going to break as they're being moved around. Once you have all the ones on top done, you can sort of lift this up and go for the ones that have fallen underneath.
almost like pushing them or guiding them. You're not really like picking them up and placing them.
Yeah, I mean, they're fine like that. They have, in the hatchery, they have the chopsticks to pick them up with, but here it's just convincing them to go somewhere. If you have any ones that have hatched on your drive, and that will happen sometimes, usually I will put them in one of the Tupperware containers and then put them straight into the tank rather than into the condo. It's just gentler on them, and then they don't have to spend any time in there if they've already hatched. And it gives the students a chance to look at them. So also I would scoop them out into Tupperware before I even poured the eggs out, and then deal with them after the eggs are in, rather than trying to work around them or get too finicky with them. So then you can take 1/2 of the incubator tray or condo, and so I'll go with that as my bottom. So I'll put the top pieces facing the other way, and then without bouncing the eggs around so that they come up again, just fit that on, and it sort of locks on. There's corner pieces that it fits in snugly to. And then once you're on and you're secure, you just flip it over, and then you need to sort of shake it through the water, holding the two pieces together, the loading tray and the half of the incubator tray, and sort of push water over them to drop the eggs down. The eggs will stick a bit. They have a bit of stickiness to them for the nest, and if there's any you need to convince, you just take your Tupperware and pour them over any you see on the other side, and there you go. If you have it, sometimes you'll have an egg that you don't see that stays in the loading tray, so just once the loading tray is back in the water, you can pop it out and just use your spoon to pick up the egg and move it into one of the empty cells. And it's not going to be a tragedy either if one cell has 2 eggs in it. That's fine. And then the other piece fits on top, and they sort of lock in tight, snugly together. And you fold it up and pop the bolts through, and then the nuts. Finger tight, doesn't need to be super tight. And then from there you put it into the tank. It will have air in, and the cells will have air in it, in them. So you want to shake that out, otherwise the condo will float up on you. So you sort of twist it around, shake it upside down to move the air out and around, to do the bubbles coming out. Once that is relatively good, it's not going to float on you, and you can secure it. So you want to secure it near the front so the students can see it, and usually I push it through the gravel a bit, and then push some gravel up against the back.